Hey everybody, this is Sam Sirius. Another episode of Greg Tech New Horizons. Sorry for the long delay in making another episode here. I got quite delayed with a bunch of other things, and then I tried to make some groundwork for some advancements in GTNH here, but I had to spend some time resolving the power issue while being limited with personal time on a bunch of things. Anyhow, in this episode, well, I kind of jumped ahead on something here. Last episode, I mentioned I've intended on creating the plat line. I have achieved that. Maybe get these ores in first, and I'll show y'all. So, tucked right besides the centrifuge system for gold and redstone, I got a bunch of LCRs to set up the bare minimum for the plat line. All I'm just pretty much doing is mixing ores like tetrahedrite and chalcopyrite with aqua regia to make the platinum concentrate. And then with ammonium chloride, I'm turning that platinum concentrate into two other dust, platinum salts, which I'm breaking down and converting back into platinum metallic powders, and then another one too as well. Let me look it up for y'all just to make sure that what I'm saying is accurate. I mean, platinum residue powder is a byproduct, but that's meant for like iridium, osmium, and a few other stuff. Repreciated platinum dust. And I'm choosing the number 2 circuit condition just for sake of getting the raw dust out of it. Make the inventory management a bit easier. But yeah, that with a little bit of calcium, I get some calcium chloride back with some platinum. And luckily, all the calcium chloride and a few other things is at a closed loop system to where I can just run off of one calcium dust and then electrolyze it back into chlorine. I do believe I'm using the sifter here with the platinum salts to get the refined platinum salts, which then I'm EBFing back into the platinum metallic dust, I believe. Platinum salt dust to refined platinum salt dust. Yeah, and that's also a way of getting returning chlorine back. So one of the EBFs, one of the 8 EBFs I've set over there, I've pre-programmed to, not pre-programmed, but I've preset to work with platinum materials. I only need one for now. Now, platinum is at a bit of a halt for the moment, and that's because I ain't got much of the ore supporting it. I'd much rather get all the tetrahedrite and chalcopyrite put into the system in order to maximize the yield from all the platinum metallic dusts. I believe those two is what's necessary to creating the platinum residue powder. I'm also producing some products for palladium and stuff too as well off of this here. I'll worry about palladium down the road. As a mild update, I'm no longer using regular rubber anymore. Using butadiene and stuff, I'm able to convert ethylene, benzene, I think another gas too as well. Okay, how do I make this again? Yeah, I'm just combining benzene with ethylene to create hydrogen and styrene. Hydrogen, I've have somewhere. Hydrogen, I'm voiding out the excess anyways, though it will be going into the ME system. But the styrene, I'm having it go into another LCR to be mixed with butene to make styrene butene rubber pulp. With a little bit of sulfuric acid, like rubber gets raw rubber, I make styrene butene rubber or butene styrene rubber. How the name works. So what's nice about that is that I don't have to go around harvesting slime trees anymore and deal with excessive glue. So I'm just having the LCRs produce their stuff here. Now, I am pretty much at an infinite resource supply right now as long as I have the butene. I just occasionally swap out the cells, stuff like that, off this GT tank going to this fluid solidifier necessary to make the styrene rubber sheets. This way, I have plenty of styrene rubber and rings to work with when it comes to making machine parts for conveyors and pumps. First, I think that type of rubber is exclusive to certain crafting recipes that regular rubber can't work with. By the way, that's a big deal just based on the fact that I don't have to worry about manually handling rubber trees anymore, which will save me the time and effort. Give me a second. Oh, you're probably noticing me be extremely mobile. I've on top of the nano suit armor, I converted the helmet into the goggles, nanosuit goggles that are revealing, nanosuit wings, and nanosuit boots of the traveler. Very effective combination for flying. I'm also At this point, I'm also kind of tempted to switch off the cloak of voluminous pockets here. Like they're good for like storage stuff like that. It's just trying to access them just feels a little cumbersome to me. Like I got the hotkey and stuff where I can choose it, but it's a little cumbersome for me to do that. I'd prefer it to be like I push a button and it immediately opens up an inventory versus a a wheel like that. And even then, the 4 backpacks I have on me is more than enough for me to carry things around, considering I'm able to go around handle things efficiently now. Now, I did apply a huge update to the ore processing system. All these machines at this side of the wall are now officially being powered all EV amps. Behind them is a bunch of large combustion engines. So I'm burning high octane gas on these. Now these combustion engines requires at least 2 input, a fuel source and basically a petroleum-based gas or fluid, a petroleum-based fluid and a lubricant. In my case, I'm choosing high octane gas and lubricant as the bare minimum to supply these machines to generate power. And on top of that, if you supply all these generators with 40 liters of oxygen per second each, you'll be able to get triple the power out of these combustion engines. Now, I'm using a 4 amp EV energy hatch for these, and that's all I really can produce out at most with these is 3 amps of EV energy. Just by supplying oxygen, one generator can do that. So all these generators combined is about, then it's 7 of them, by the way. So that's about 21 amps of EV power. Each of these buildings here have 2 EV energy hatches going into them. Okay, I'm going to have to correct that at some point. Now, I don't. Now, of course, I do have a problem with these machines to where they don't act automatically like the single block machines, like the single block generators do in terms of powering all these machines. Because the machines will tell the single block generators what to draw, and whenever they're not drawing, so those will turn on and off automatically. These don't. That is why I've created a battery buffer latch system for these. All these generators combined produces too much power than what all these would consume anyways. So which makes throttling even more important should you want to be efficient with your fuel and other resources such as oxygen and lubricant. I don't have a automated setup for lubricant yet, and even then doesn't really use that much lubricant. And then oxygen, I've just sorted out the issue with oxygen, but barely. So I don't want to be burning through too much oxygen unnecessarily with this system too as well. But yeah, I got the ME network for oxygen, hog, lubricant. So I got two systems that's used two battery buffers per turbines, not turbine system, per generator system. The reason why is that a battery buffer at maximum size is 16 amps. I got 21 amps worth of EV power to work with these generators, which is more than 16 amps. And my initial calculation with all the ore washings with all ore processing was about 20 amps of power. Thankfully, it's considerably less than that, but I'm still sticking with this setup here. So I'm basically using a battery buffer with a bunch of Lapotron crystals and the extreme voltage battery buffers has the energy detector covers. I put in electricity storage to include batteries, and I was literally able to type in 10% to get the energy level that is about 10% of the total capacity that the buffer and all the batteries work with or storing. So when 10%, so whenever these get at 10% charge, it will trip this RS ore latch to deactivate this torch and allow the RS ore latch to lock itself at an on state. The RS ore latch has a NOT gate functionality attached to it with just this torch branching away from the RS ore latch. And the redstone wire resistant is just then getting routed towards the top of these combustion engines. Now, on top of these machine controllers is the machine controller cover to basically tell the machine to turn on whenever it's having a redstone signal go into it. Now, do note with these combustion engines is that the front faces of these cannot be obstructed, not even by a torch or anything that is has no collision. But I can at least put the red alloy on top of them rather than in front of them. But yeah, these will then, when they receive redstone signal, will turn on, charging up the battery buffer all the way to 100%. And when that does, a redstone signal will be applied to essentially trip the state of this RS ore latch and allow everything to turn on again. Similar deal with this latch. I've tested this multiple times. It's working. So yeah, this ore processing system is extremely fast now. Before I go into the next bit, I want to deposit all these. I've been saving up. I've been saving up some purified cassiterite, sand, and tin ore stuff like that because I've been wanting to put them through a sifter for sake of getting zirconium. I don't know what they're needed for yet, but something's telling me I might need large quantities of that. So, as a solution to have a passive supply of tungsten, I've created a macerator centrifuge system that breaks down endstone dust to yield a trace supply of tungsten and platinum metallic powder, platinum metallic dust, and stuff like that. I don't want to be going into the end every single time just to what might spend an hour or two mining up an island. Plus, it can be a little bit dangerous and a hassle when it comes to handling light sources to keep the Enderman from harassing you whenever you destroy an ore block. So, I wound up doing some Thaumcraft research and was able to use a fusion altar recipe to create a bunch of ender trees. All I need is is an ender wood block and a ender tree leaf, and it will turn any cobblestone into endstone or obsidian, being supplied cobblestone through the block placer that I'm having the rock breaker put in here. I only need a basic one. That's enough to get this going for now for that trickle, and this is enough to slightly oversupply the macerator centrifuge system for the tungsten generation. And I have this on a clock. I find that this is the perfect speed to where I have no problems. Before I had like a bunch of trees here, cause a whole lot of undesired enderman spawn, stuff like that. Not to mention I have to be careful with trees and lava. Well, I was also running into problems for the cobblestone generator, where I was just having cobblestone be generated through water and lava casting. It would jam up in unexpected places. So I came up with this here to basically mitigate that problem. Ooh, just as my concern popped up. So there is a small chance that the instant obsidian would get generated instead, but it can get converted back into endstone since these will not discriminate on what gets converted except for the chisel cobblestone. These don't get affected. That's why I laid out this area with chisel cobblestone. But there's a chance where obsidian may generate here and stall out the system because, well, vanilla Minecraft obsidian isn't pushable. Now, eventually that would have turned back into endstone like what you just saw there in Flash. But this is how I've been generating endstone at a passive trickle without having to actively mine a big heap of it. Now, because of this being oversupplying it, there's every now and then that barrel I saw over there would have like about multiple stacks of endstone in it. When I see them being at a considerable supply, I'll just simply grab all the endstone and put it through the ore processing system. That's way much faster with how it does its thing. So that's something to periodically check on. So, an update on the centrifuge system. It received some power upgrades. So, it's still using regular benzene. However, instead of using the HV gas turbine, 4 amps of HV gas turbines into each machine here, excuse me, I've went for large gas turbines, power supply, generating power with vibrant alloy. These vibrant alloys at optimal flow is 145% efficient versus a gas generator that's like I think 60% efficient. Let me check that real quick. Oh no, 85%. So I'm basically getting an additional 65. Is it 65? No, an additional 60% more energy out of this here instead of having a 65, 40. That's 15 plus 40 plus 45. Yeah, that's 60. Yeah, so this is basically I'm able to get 60% more energy out of this versus a normal gas turbine. Now you're seeing these things turn off. You all can probably guess why already, but yeah, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these large gas turbines, enough to supply power to the large electric compressor, 8 vacuum freezers, and the centrifuge, as well as the centrifuge I'm using for the noble gases. So that is like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are about enough for about like around 10 EV amps, each being broken down into HV amps via transformer, since I only have 4 energy hatches for that, since I'm using 2 energy hatches per machine for that. With these here, though, these will not act automatically with fuel conservation. You have to specify a limit to how much fuel goes in there at a time. For example, this input hatch, I'm having to use, with me using benzene, 9 liters of benzene going in here per tick is enough to generate about half an IV amp worth of power being distributed. Of course, it's basically slightly over 2 amps of EV power that's being generated by these things. I'm using the EV dynamo hatches for that, and these are 4 amp dynamo hatches. So all these 5 gas turbines are all, you can probably guess, are all going into the battery buffer, controlled by the two energy detectors that are at a memory state with an RS OR latch and a NOT gate. They toggle on the state of these machines. Same deal. I've maintained the 10% to 100% ratio with them as always. And there's the transformers that I'm breaking them converting EV amps into HV amps. Since all these machines are only using HV energy hatches, don't need to blow them up. I've also did some major rehauling with the power system. So I've been using industrial coke ovens lately. I've added an additional 3 coke ovens to make effective use of it. All those in combination with the coke ovens and the pilot ovens for oil processing is pretty much consuming all the wood at capacity, be above what they can be supplied. So I'm pretty much consuming more wood than I can supply. All the charcoal and wood tar are ultimately going into, again, these, oh, maintenance problem. That's why I periodically check these machines. But yeah, all the wood tar that I'm producing from the ovens and the extractors are all going into, again, the distiller towers, distillation towers, excuse me. Talking's hard. I've also added an additional set of distilleries just for sake of benzene getting produced. Eventually, these will get replaced with additional distillation towers, but for now, this works. Of course, using gas turbines, I'm having these powered, though I am using nitrobenzene to power the distillation systems here. But yeah, 16 advanced distilleries. And that's enough to be at an oversupply of benzene. I will eventually be converting over to nitrobenzene being my primary source of resources, but for now, as my primary way of powering things passively, executing the same power strategy that I'm treating benzene with. But I'm gonna have to add more of this combination setups here to in order to make sure that I'm able to produce enough nitrobenzene, and that should be a more efficient fuel for passively powering everything. I just gotta make sure I got plenty of nitrogen and phosphorus available for that. If I do that, I'm having a feeling that, oh, and oxygen too as well for the nitric acid. If I do this though, I will have to expand upon nitrogen and stuff like that. With me getting closer to IV, I'm eventually going to be putting like a specialized air intake hatch to all the vacuum freezers to gather all the air automatically versus using a compressor system. And these will be upgraded to IV power eventually, as well as the centrifuge. Whew, everything's having problems right now. So in doing that, and I'll probably be adding an additional 8 vacuum freezers. That will definitely be a viable option once I get the electric compressor out of the way. I can actually reserve the compressor for something else once that happens. And if I do that, I'll probably have to add even more gas turbines, and that would probably exceed the ampere capacity of the stuff here too as well. No lubricant is required with these, but I do need to periodically replace the large gas turbine. I've put about 60 to 80 hours with these running so far, and it's only down to 84% with them being throttled on and off, and these machines are constantly running. So, not bad. I was worried that the turbines would have to be replaced a whole lot, but no, that turns out not to be the case. Anyhow, I'm squirreling away. So all of the charcoal, I'm either being compressed down into the blocks for the boiler system there, or they're all being routed into two walls of 8 fluid extractors and an MV wall of fluid extractors, which is enough to keep up with the charcoal demand or supply. Even with these 10 turbo centrifuges, I'm still not consuming all the ashes to one. So all the ashes are still in excess, still being put out into the trash can. However, there's a big benefit in centrifuging ashes. And surprisingly, the big benefit is oxygen. All of the products that those ashes produce, such as banded iron, phosphorus, pentoxide, potash, magnesia, quicklime, and one more. Soda ash, you can electrolyze those to get their respective item products, but also to get some oxygen out of them. And they actually do a pretty good job in supplying oxygen. And I'm actually at some point wanting to probably replace those 10 HV centrifuges with an industrial centrifuge just for the sake of processing all that more efficiently and possibly more faster. So this is a surprisingly good source of oxygen should you run into an oxygen shortage. Fortunately, I kind of have to dig into the aesthetics for this for now, but this will do. What I can probably do is create a industrial electrolyzer for all of these, so this way I can reconsolidate something and be more power efficient with it, having their own respective energy hatches for the respective product. Not energy hatches, item buses for the respective ash byproducts. But yeah, this is an excellent way of generating oxygen as well as other resources passively. Now, there is a reason why I did make the push to upgrade the ore processing system. One, I want to drop the HV energy hatches to use for even more LCRs in the future. But also, two, I made myself a ore drilling plant. These things mines a very good distance away from them and keeps everything chunk loaded. I, for now, am harvesting all the ores and stuff that is away from that is in my base just for sake of getting those out of the way. But if I can use these things can harvest multiple veins at a time. Like I get 3 times the crushed ore directly from this here from these machines, as well as what is it, Fortune 4 being applied to the small ore veins. I even have to go back and empty these chests out because of how incredibly efficient it is. Because I have like a big, large influx of ores right now. I got one here in my base, and I got another one here tapping into a bunch of other veins just because I'm interested in the mica that's here. I'm due to check on that. But yeah, these machines here do require lubricant going into them. I do have a hatch for to put the pipes and stuff in, which I think might be here. What's interesting here, I did initially have this power with HV power. Every 12 seconds it'll mine ore, but if you go EV, it will go every 3 seconds instead. So it's like pretty much nearly 1 to 1 with the benefit with ore demand stuff. So it is very well worth to go EV power on these machines just based on the fact that it's 4 times faster. So it's not very penalizing when it comes to. Oh no. So it's not very penalizing for energy loss when it comes to like speeding up machines. This is my mess up. I got confused with something else. I suppose caving has its benefits. There are underground Thaumcraft nodes. So that should be bedrock. Yep. Thank God for wings. I was thinking across obsidian. Cap it off now before I fall in the hole. Don't kill me, but still. The prioritized positioning of this machine elsewhere. Oh, I just voided out some lube. Oh well, I got plenty of it. These machines ain't hard to set up. I will have to go back to restock my stuff here. That wand is out of charge, so I can't exactly fix the maintenance issue. But yeah, whenever a chest gets full, I just go back to my yeah, I took the pipes. Sorry, I can go back and deal with that later on. Oh, not that. That's how you cause issues. You never want materials with large data information going into an ME system. That's how you corrupt chunks. Is carrying a super tank doing this to me? Once I get all these items deposited, I'll just go and deploy the miner in another spot to clear things out with. Probably probably right somewhere around here, just for sake of getting some redstone. I am producing drilling fluid and lubricant. I'm using Super Tank 3s to store the drilling fluid in mass, as well as the Super Tank 3s for the lubricant. I gotta resupply these with redstone. Super Tank is more than enough to keep a drill going. Anyhow, I'm going to cut here and then deploy the drilling stuff. I got small set of chores to do before I can get things back going again. Alright, so back to mining operation. I want to go for this redstone beam here. And this is where I will go ahead and plop down the mining rig. So you pretty much need steel casings, steel frames, and the multi-block structure. Because of this being multi-block, you will need the maintenance hatch, which I think I've already applied to it. The structure can be blown up, by the way, so it's best to have it get covered up. There's such thing as having too much mobility. Let me get builder's wand. This will be quicker. This super tank did not do me any good. What's nice about the super tank too as well is that I can just simply right click it and tell it to auto output. And it preserves its memory of its settings too as well. Nice. And that's all the drilling fluid, topping it off. I put the drilling pipes in there. So that's for that. And surprisingly, this thing won't burn through that much fuel. Yeah, I gotta finalize this because bad weather will destroy this machine. So it's imperative that you at least cover the oil drilling rig and do the same with the tank too as well, just in case. Just doing a height check. I'm not worried about the chests, those don't explode. Supposedly the generator and tank I'm thinking about, the oil rig's pretty much good. There we go though. So now that's going on, and by default this machine will harvest about 4 chunks, about 36 square chunks. And as you can see, 3 per second using about a partial EV amp. And it'll go all the way down to each vein and stuff and harvest all the resources around it. So be effectively doing that there will clear out these veins at least, maybe a little bit more. I go to sleep real quick. I want to check on the other miner real quick. But yeah, this is pretty much my routine that I go with these machines. Should be much hostile mob spawning in here. Maybe trace them out. Oh, machine activity. Is this thing done? Looks like it's done. Wow. Okay, so that's 62 pipes. What happened to the other ones? Well, it's saying it's done, so I'm going to do the same thing to this one and relocate to other thing. I'll probably go for I'm gonna go at this side of the base this time. The only reason why I went this far with it because I wanted the mica to make the coils and stuff with. I'll do that off camera before I start forecasting future plans. One mining rig, expansion placed in base, a whole round of ore processing. Finding myself having to prioritize red. I mean, not having to, but I'm prioritizing redstone because one, I'm going to need a whole lot of redstone to produce lubricant over time. I need to produce a automatic way of making lubricant around this area at some point. But also, two, um, rare earths. Those are ideal for getting metals are more essential to the later tiers. Anyhow, I pretty much did what I needed to do. Future plans. So I'm getting ready to do another ME overhaul at some point. So I'm thinking instead every hallway or every product production will have their own separate ME networks that will be interacting with a interface system. Two reasons why. One, I want to be able to have all the networks read each other out. I want to be able to have certain networks be able to have their own defined priority on what they have, what the need resources for. For example, if I'm doing like a separate network for power processing and stuff like that, I'd much rather have those be top priority versus other non-essentials for producing. So that's talking benzene, nitrobenzene, probably hog too as well. But also too, if I can have like a smaller network that's branching out to periodically with localized storage, I could have those networks just have their channels be taken up with ME fluid hatches, and I could then not ME fluid interfaces and stuff, and I can have those fluid interfaces then directly supply fluids, and another one that receives all fluids. That should help escape the limitations with the importer and export buses. And two, it should actually help me conserve channels because I'm having a lot of the importer export buses, stuff like that, and that's eating up a lot of channels, which will also in turn eat up a fair amount of power too as well. So doing this will actually simplify the ME networks a little bit more. I can repurpose those for other things as needed, but for now, I'd much rather have it just be directly fed from a interface that is being drawn from a filtered GregTech system, which means things might get a little bit tangle-footed again, but at this point, I want to simplify things. And plus two, I want all of the subnets to be linked to the central nets of the respective systems. For example, a subfluid net being a subnet of the central fluid network, but a central fluid network is not as prioritized versus subnets. This way, I can just simply have the central networks just be in charge of the buses and stuff for all of the networks here, which should in turn guarantee that less channels would be used for the central networks, which then should allow me to have more connections made available since the sub networks are the ones that are going to be handling more of the connections than other means. So I'll probably be doing that for every network system types, even for the Essentia system. So that's a plan I've been thinking about doing through time. I do also want to expand on power infrastructure on the EBFs. Well, they're all pretty much, all but one is pretty much EV powered right now. However, I would like to be able to convert them all into IV power. Now I'm inclined to still use the combustion engines to power all the EBFs. Now each EBF is using 4 EV amps. And I know at max I can supply 30 amps with oxygen supplied to the combustion generators that I'm using for the ore processing. So I'm thinking is create a power generation system localized to the for the EBFs exclusively. Where this time all the EBFs will be IV powered. So that's 4 amps of EV we're talking about. I've been finding that those combustion engines are actually more energy efficient too as well. So I will want to make use of the battery buffer system, whatnot, just to take advantage of the efficiency and the whole throttling issue. So same idea here for the EBFs. Each EBF being like what 4 EV amps theoretically. So that there is 8 EBFs, 8 times 4. I would need 32 EV amps in total. So that there will be about 11 combustion engines that will need to be supplying the 32 amps worth of power that'll be needing. Because of the fact that I'm having to use a combustion engine to produce 1 extra amp, that 1 combustion engine, I'm going to have to figure out how to combine the two in that regard, just based on the fact that they've got to figure out how to evenly split the power load on that one between the two systems. The only thing I can figure on doing is to make use of some cable diodes and have that power generator be turned on regardless which wing of generators necessary. Don't forget, 1 EV battery buffer can only handle up to 16 amps worth of power. So it's pretty much 1 battery buffer per each wing in this hallway here. So that 1 extra combustion, so that 11 combustion engine is going to have to turn on for both battery buffers. Actually, now just thinking about it even more, what I could probably do is have that directly power the EBFs and having the 4 combustion engines at each wings just charge up the batteries, because I don't know, I'm going to have to play around. This is an unusual case where I have to get very creative with how I distribute power. Just because of the amp limits of the battery buffer, unless there's a battery buffer that allows more amperes than what I really need, than what I currently know about, I mean. Now, I could tuck them here, but I'm probably going to want to turn this into a hall of EDFs. Which means the combustion generators are going to be tucked in here. The combustion generators, again, are more energy efficient, so I'm getting more energy per unit of fuel. And 2, it will help me relieve a whole lot of clutter with the piping and the turbo gas generators. Especially this monstrosity just for 1 EBF. 16 HP gas generators just to produce 1 IV, just to produce an IV amp worth of power for 1 EBF. And these are like what? 85% efficient? I want to say 85%. Yeah, 85% efficient. I would much rather consolidate all this much power's worth into 1 hall of 11 generators. I don't know. I have some thinking to do about how I want to route power for the EBFs, but that will be a next episode matter. Because once I get all these power to IV tier power, they're going to be so much faster and more capable of doing certain recipes before having the proper coils in there. I want to be able to have enough mica and stuff to upgrade all these coils into HSSG coils. And then I can repurpose all the other coils for other things like large chemical reactors. In the meantime, I'm probably going to have to go prospecting for more mica veins, depending on what's going on. But I should have enough mica soon to work on these nichrome coils. Mica. How much mica do I have? A healthy amount of mica stuff. Ooh. Just to think that the crusher is tripling the dust. So just to think that I've gained an additional 33% of mica just from the multi-block miners. And that's before the mica dust. What a big benefit. You may have noticed that with me talking about having a power system, that the power systems I'm setting up is not centralized. That's because I'm still wanting to use the gas turbines to do like the modular style of power handling where I'm having a network of fluid pipes go all over the place. And I want to do that with the large multi-block machines until I advance onto power to a point where I can't do that anymore. I can still do it, it's just with larger multi-blocks. But that may change in the distant future. Time will tell. Ooh, is this for yep, it's for titanium processing. I am processing more titanium. The 7 combustion generators I made has put a big dip in my titanium supply, so I need to generate more titanium for a while. I'll probably be winding up making the combustion engines for those EBFs in the next episode. And then I have to see how power consumption with high octane gas goes too as well. If I could generate about 300 titanium ingots, I would put them through the vacuum freezer just for the sake of having them fresh and available and not stockpiled up. I wish there was a filter to where I can automatically put all the hot titanium ingots. If any of y'all happen to know if there's like a filter setting with certain machines or something like that that I can specify that would put all hot ingots in there regardless of what they are for, please let me know because I've been trying to figure out how to get that going. I'm not even seeing like an or dictionary reference to something that is exclusively hot. Oh, jeez. Ah, at least he ain't hostile. That scared the living daylights out of me. Yeah, I'm asking help with this here because I don't know how to specify hot titanium ingots only unless I'm able to make use of something that would be vacuum freezer exclusive. I have to play around with that option. Saccharin is. Thaumcraft has its charm. I do have enough warp to have caused the Eldritch Epiphany, but it definitely woke me up there. Anyhow, y'all, I got some plans laid out for the next episode. You'll either see me make the combustion engines or have them already made for something else in mind. I have something else in mind for the next episode. Time will tell. Anyways, y'all, I wish y'all well and take good care. Goodbye.